JoshMafia, welcome back to another reaction video. Today we are reacting to how an NBA star with zero athleticism outplayed everybody. Which, talking about Jokic, you know what I'm saying? But if you're new to my channel, make sure you're liking the video, subscribing, and all things of that. And I'm gonna waste some of the time. I got some food here. Make sure y'all got your food, your beverage, your snacks, all things of that. Your Arby's, your KFC, your Sonic, or home cooked meal, you know what I'm saying? Maybe. But let's get straight into the video. And make sure your whole family is locked in with my channel. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you're locked in. Even your dog, your cat, your rat, everybody, your mom and dad. Make sure everybody locked in. But yeah, let's get straight into the video.
He's slow, he's unathletic, and was often overweight. Nikola Jokic is the exact opposite of what you would expect from an NBA player. I'm serious. Where Michael Jordan could be seen flying through the air, Nikola barely gets off the ground. Yet he still managed to win 3 MVPs, an NBA championship, and was named an All-Star 6 times. So how did this out-of-shape player become one of the greatest? Well, it's all because of his insane basketball IQ, with plays so calculated that he doesn't even have to look where his teammates are. However, he wasn't always the legend he is today. So let's go back to the beginning, when the Jokic family introduced a new member on February 19th, 1995, a baby boy named Nikola. A few days after his birth, the newborn and his parents arrived at their family home in Sombor, Serbia, a small town of around 50,000 people. It was here where the young Nikola would be—
Is 50,000 really small? Well, yeah, technically compared to some places it is.
Introduced to basketball by his 2 older brothers, Strahinja and Nemanja, on their mini hoop inside their cramped apartment. Jokic's brothers were much older than him. Strahinja was 13 and Nemanja was 11. Therefore, the young Nikola would spend much of his childhood attending their basketball games. He would see the passion and precision his brothers played with, inspiring him to begin his own journey with basketball, a sport he quickly fell in love with. Due to his incredible size at such a young age, Nikola was forced to be his team's big man. But something was different about the young boy when compared to the other centers, because Jokic possessed a rare skill. You see, despite being the tallest on his team, he had an incredible gift of passing and making decisions with the ball. So his youth team coaches would often play him as their point guard. As he grew into a teenager, Jokic would spend hours and hours watching YouTube clips of NBA stars, dreaming of one day leaving small town Serbia to play for a big club in Europe. And this dream wasn't too far away, because scouts from a much larger club in Serbia began to notice Jokic's potential as not only a big man, but a focal point for their offense. And at age 16, Nikola would get his opportunity, moving to the much more populated Novi Sad to represent their club team, Vojvodina. October 22nd, 2012, Misko Raznatovic, one of Serbia's biggest basketball agents, was reading the local newspaper, as he did every Saturday morning, and noticed an unusual stat line in a local club game: 30+ points with 20+ rebounds. Raznatovic was intrigued, but due to his lifelong involvement with the game, just assumed it was a fluke. It wasn't until the following week—
I think he's still 16. He said he's 16. He haven't said no other age than 16. So for 16, hey, that's pretty good. Being in a basketball league that's in, I think, Serbia, yeah,
when he opened the newspaper to see a very similar stat line. Misko's curiosity had been piqued. He had to know who this kid was. So he called his main scout, Branimir Tadic, about this mystery prospect. Branimir, who knew every youth player in Serbia, had no idea who this player was. Therefore, Misko instructed him to head to Novi Sad at once and get his eyes on this unknown basketball prospect. Tadic would arrive a few days later to watch this mystery player, confirming the numbers his boss had seen in the newspapers: a 16-year-old, 6'11", slow center named Nikola Jokic. Misko was amazed.
If he would never read the news, he probably would have got discovered a whole different way, in my opinion, and he would have never found them. So he probably would have played for a different club or league or something, probably like that.
Knew he had to sign this unknown prospect before anyone else. So he met with Jokic's parents regarding representing him as an agent, as well as having him move to a professional team well known for developing Serbian prospects. The Jokic family agreed, and the teenage prospect would head off to Sremska Mitrovica, eager to begin his professional basketball career at Mega Basket. But would the teenage Jokic be able to compete against grown men, or was he just dominant at the youth level because he was bigger than everyone else? However, before the young prospect could prove himself, there was a huge issue, a problem that prevented him from playing and training for Mega, because during his initial examination, Marko Kosic noticed something unusual. Jokic was overweight and shockingly couldn't do a single push-up. Therefore, he had to inform Nikola he wouldn't be able to play until he got into shape. But thankfully for the teenager, help was on the way. You see, whilst his older brother, Nemanja, was playing Division I basketball in Detroit, he spent a lot of time with a European NBA player, Darko Milicic, who was selected second overall in the 2003 draft by the Detroit Pistons. While the pair got along very well, it was ultimately this relationship that prevented Nemanja from going any further with his career, because he would spend night after night partying with Milicic, causing him to miss practices and ultimately fail to achieve his basketball dreams. It was this mistake that drove Nikola's older brother to push him, teaching and guiding him on what it takes to achieve his dreams of playing at the highest level in Europe. Thanks to his big brother's guidance, Jokic would get in shape, and just 2 weeks after his arrival, he was ready to showcase his talents for Mega's junior team. Dejan Milojevic, nicknamed Deki, a former Serbian professional player, was the head coach of Mega's senior team, and he was beginning to realize something whilst watching Jokic average 12 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists for their junior team. Dejan called Misko and informed him that Nikola would be moving to the senior team after just 1 month within the club. Jokic's agent was in disbelief, but Dejan saw something in the young adult that almost no one else saw, and Deki's unique coaching philosophy would impact Jokic in an incredible way. As
partying is the last thing you want to do while you're at peak. Yeah, but you got to think about it. They're not in like how some, you know how people in football, right? People, I think it was Brazil. It was either Brazil. I think it was Brazil that people that partying. I think it's Brazil. It was like a lot of people that played football, and they're Brazil, and they never like practice dribbling or anything like that. And that's where like they were getting fucked up in the head and like, oh, I'm a party, and then I'm not gonna worry about practicing doing this, do that. So it's basically, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it's like I feel like nobody in his family got to that point in life. I don't know. I might be wrong. I might be right, but he probably one of the only ones that got to a point like that. I don't know. What you going to see?
Dejan believed,
you have to recognize what kind of player they should be and to development in that way. The development of the player is not just learning him some moves and skills. The most important part is learning them to read the game.
Deki didn't see an overweight big man. He saw a basketball genius, someone capable of becoming a most valuable player for Mega Basket, and he knew Jokic wouldn't be spending much time playing for him, so he poured everything he could into the teenager, coaching him as if he was his own son. As Mega's senior team approached the postseason, Jokic was really beginning to shine, resulting in Deki giving the teenager a mind-blowing 23 minutes in their semi-final game against Serbian powerhouse Red Star. And despite Mega losing, the now 19-year-old prodigy was beginning to show hints of who he could be in the future. It was thanks to this semi-finals performance that after years and years of being ignored by the Serbian national program, the rookie professional was finally selected to represent his country at the Under-19 World Champs in the Czech Republic. This was Nikola's chance to finally showcase his unique talents and incredibly high basketball IQ to professional basketball scouts. However, Serbia was led to a silver medal by a point guard, Vasilij Micic, and 2 other Nikolas, with Jokic coming off the bench for an average of 16 minutes per game. While the Sombor native didn't leave with NBA scouts begging to draft him, someone did notice him. Rafael Yuk, an intern scout for the Utah Jazz, was also at the Under-19 champs and noticed Jokic's consistent improvement as the tournament progressed. But at the time, he didn't believe he was an NBA level player. However, Rafael would note his name down as a player to keep an eye on for the future. Shortly after winning silver, Jokic returned to Mega for the 2013-2014 Adriatic League season, where thanks to his head coach, Nikola was given the freedom to be himself, allowing him to average 11 points, 2.5 assists, and 6 rebounds a game coming off the bench. While these numbers aren't exactly eye-popping, I want you to remember that Nikola was 19 years old, playing against grown men. It was thanks to this success that scouts in the United States were beginning to become more and more intrigued. So, the young professional was invited to compete at the Nike Hoop Summit, a week-long NBA-style training camp leading up to a World vs. USA exhibition game. Jokic would shine throughout their trainings, leading the whole camp in scoring. But despite nearly every NBA general manager and scout being present, Nikola wasn't making a huge name for himself, with many just being confused, thinking he was weird or that he was just too unathletic when compared to other prospects. Yet, Misko, thanks to his success as an agent, had great relationships with multiple NBA teams, who said they had some interest in selecting the young Serbian in the 2014 NBA draft. So, Raznatovic decided to enter Nikola's name into the draft. A few months later, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver was reading out the first-round draft picks, and despite what Misko had been told, Jokic's name had not been read out. But as the second round began, a certain scout was sitting in a draft room with his notebook of international prospects. Thanks to his hard work and dedication, Rafael Juk had been offered a full-time scouting role for the Denver Nuggets. Juk, alongside the Nuggets, believed in Jokic, seeing something in the Serbian that no one else did. So,
with the 41st pick in the 2014 NBA draft, the Denver Nuggets select Nikola Jokic from Sombor, Serbia.
What was it that the Nuggets saw in Jokic that the other 29 NBA teams didn't? Shortly after the draft, Jokic, Misko, and the Nuggets agreed it would be best for him to spend one more season playing in Serbia. And thanks to his draft success, he would have a much larger role under coach Deki, because Nikola was now a starter, a decision that had an instant impact, with Jokic scoring 27 points in their first game. And something was very different with how Coach Dejan would use Jokic. You see, he decided to make the NBA draftee the focal point of their offense, allowing him the freedom to further develop his passing and decision-making skills, resulting in him averaging 3.2 assists per game. It was this trust in the young rising star that helped shape his basketball IQ, because Deki would never punish Jokic for making mistakes. He would always encourage him to continue exploring and developing, resulting in a philosophy that would stick with Nikola for the rest of his life.
If you pass to everybody, then everybody want to play defense, then everybody's going to play for each other, they're going to help each other, so it's kind of it's just easy. Like assist makes two people happy, a point makes one guy happy, so it's simple as that.
It was this philosophy that led Jokic, despite being a 20-year-old playing in a league filled with grown men, to win the Most Valuable Player award of the Adriatic League, a clear sign of things to come. However, this is when some issues would arise for the soon-to-be NBA player. You see, Mega Basket's season ended in late March, and Nikola wouldn't have to leave for Denver's Summer League training camp until June. So, Jokic did what he normally would do in his time off: hang out, eat delicious Serbian food, and drink liters upon liters of Coke. So once again, he showed up to training camp, this time with the Nuggets out of shape. While he did struggle occasionally throughout the NBA Summer League due to his weight, athletic ability, and playing with Americans who weren't used to playing with someone who could pass like Nikola, there were some promising signs.
Why did he stop right there? Look at this shit.
Struggle occasionally throughout the NBA Summer League due to his weight, athletic ability.
Look, if you're gonna go through the pain, just go through all the way, bro.
And playing with Americans who weren't used to playing with someone who could pass like Nikola, there were some promising signs throughout each game. But no one really knew how to utilize Jokic, as there really hadn't been a player like him in the NBA yet. And a question was raised: would anyone in the US figure out how to use his very different skill set? Or would he have to return to Europe in order to reach the peak of his game? While many assumed he was lazy due to his weight, it was actually quite the opposite, as the young Serbian was dedicated to getting his body NBA ready, and he would meet one of the most energetic strength coaches in the whole NBA.
Hopefully we bring home a championship, so I'm just so excited to be here.
Steve, just like Marco at Mega Basket, guided Nikola with his nutrition and strength training, helping the rookie lose 30 pounds during his first season in the NBA. It was this work ethic that caught the eye of Denver Nuggets head coach Mike Malone, who was beginning to see something in the rookie that no one else did. However, However, something would get in the way of Coach Malone's vision. You see, they already had 3 legitimate big men, Kenneth Faried, JJ Hickson, as well as Darrell Arthur. And to make Jokic's problems worse, they also had another promising European center from Bosnia, Jusuf Nurkic. This surplus in big men essentially made him Denver's 5th option. And while this was frustrating for the rookie, there was an even...
But he did just get in the league, so that spot gonna be his in a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Bigger issue at hand. Because NBA offenses, thanks to Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, were focused on fast-paced small ball. Yeah. Therefore, the Nuggets coaching staff would often choose to go with more traditionally athletic bigs who could keep up with this pace, such as Faried or JJ Hickson. Due to this issue, the Serbian rookie would only average 13.6 minutes per game, and his dilemmas from Summer League continued because the Nuggets played him as a traditional big man, looking to post him up rather than run the offense through him as Dickey had done during his MVP season at Mega Basket. But on the 19th of November 2015, something incredible would happen as Jokic would begin to become more involved with the offense. Instead of just posting up, he was setting screens on the ball and then catching it in the mid-range, where he began his night with a nice floater. This success would continue throughout the game, and while the rookie wouldn't get a chance to showcase his basketball IQ, it became clear he had the ability to score at an NBA level, finishing with 23 points. Over the next 15 games, thanks to his success against the Spurs, Jokic would earn an extra 7 minutes per game, allowing him to increase his scoring average to 9.8 points, until once again, something incredible would happen. Denver faced off against the Spurs in San Antonio, but this time something was very different because Mike Malone had made a key change in the way he used his Serbian big man. Instead of playing him down low in the post, he used Nikola as the central hub of their offense, very similar to how he played at Mega Basket. And this change had a massive impact on the rookie, allowing him to score 22 points, grab 7 rebounds, and unlike the beginning of his season where he averaged a measly 1 assist per game, Jokic would get 5. After the game, Coach Malone was asked about Nikola's performance.
Well, every time I think he's kind of reached his rookie ceiling. The game he had tonight, you can talk about some of these other young bigs who are all talented. You know, the kid in New York, Minnesota, Philly, I don't know any of their names. I know this kid's name though. I know Nikola Jokic, and I wouldn't trade him for anybody in the world.
While the Denver Nuggets failed to make the playoffs in the 2015-2016 season, Nikola had gone from an overweight 41st pick to a legitimate NBA starter, who after his second game in San Antonio would average 23 minutes, 3 assists, 8 rebounds, and 10.4 points per game. However, there was a huge issue within the Denver Nuggets, a problem that could force Jokic to move back to Europe, because entering the 2016-2017 season, the NBA was truly at the peak of the space and pace era. And the most frustrating thing about playing against these teams was that you had to adopt their strategy. Therefore, if you wanted to play both of your young European bigs, which is exactly what Mike Malone wanted to do, you would just lose game after game due to your lack of pace. So, Denver knew they had to make a drastic change in order to have a chance at making the playoffs. And after a 24-point loss to one of the most overpowered teams of all time, a game where the Serbian sophomore only had 4 points, Denver knew what they had to do. So Nikola Jokic was benched. Denver had chosen to go with Nurkic as their starting big man. However, while many believe this was the Nuggets' decision, it was actually Nikola who asked to be benched.
I asked to go to the bench just because the team we didn't win a lot of games, and maybe just to give myself a chance, or
selfish. He didn't want
to play a position that I was supposed to play or whatever.
He did this because, in his own words,
I just want to improve, to get better. This is just a start. I want to play here for a lot of years, maybe to finish my season here. So this is just the beginning.
Jokic understood this was only the beginning of his career, and coming off the bench would give him an opportunity to play how he wanted to play. This impressive bet on himself seemingly paid off on the 12th of December 2016, as the 21-year-old, in just 26 minutes off the bench, would score an impressive 27 points, grab 11 rebounds, and throw 4 assists. It was this stat line that had Denver's coaching staff questioning if they made the right move, because short Shortly after this game, Denver's full staff met to discuss which European center they should go with long term, Jokic or Nurkic. To help solve this problem, their analytical team presented the staff with per 36-minute statistics of 2 unnamed players and posed a very simple question: who is who? They correctly guessed that player B was Nikola. His statistics were very similar to player A, who everyone just assumed was Yusuf, but this was far from the truth. Player A was actually one of the greatest players of all time, Larry Bird. Head coach Mike Malone was shocked.
And we realized that we had a player that we could build an offense and a team and an organization around.
And immediately moved Nurkic back to the bench, opting to start their young Serbian star instead. Coach Malone's decision was cemented by the Nuggets front office, who on February 13, 2017 traded Yusuf Nurkic to the Portland Trail Blazers, making it blatantly clear who they had decided to build their franchise around. However, while everyone in the Nuggets organization knew this was the right decision, fans all around the world, including myself, were shocked by this move. Because was Jokic, a center with limited traditional athletic ability, someone who didn't have that much individual skill outside of his incredible IQ, really a franchise centerpiece? While Nikola had the weight of a whole NBA organization on his shoulders, he would continue to always be his true self, someone who loves to have fun and laugh with his teammates.
Why do bees have sticky hair? Because they use honeycombs. What's honeycombs?
With Coach Mike sharing,
he's almost embarrassed by the attention. He just wants to be one of the guys in the locker room, have fun, work hard, and win.
Another Mike, NBA veteran Mike Miller, decided to give Jokic a nickname to match his lighthearted, fun-loving personality, naming him the Joker. Which quickly spread worldwide. Joker began to thrive under this pressure because on the 4th of February 2017, he got his first ever triple-double against the Milwaukee Bucks. And throughout the regular season, he averaged 19.1 points, 10.8 rebounds, and a very impressive 5.6 assists, helping the Nuggets edge closer and closer to their playoff dreams. However, these hopes would come down to a single must-win game against, you guessed it, Yusuf Nurkic and the Blazers. Yusuf, motivated to prove the Nuggets wrong, dropped an incredible 33 points, crushing Denver's postseason aspirations and sowing a seed of doubt that maybe the Nuggets did make the wrong decision. However, the now 22-year-old Serbian was hungry to get revenge throughout the 2017-2018 season and show the world the Nuggets made the right bet. So, Jokic would get a huge 10 triple-doubles during the regular season, including a 30-point, 17-rebound, 15-assist game against the Bucks. It was due to Nikola's dominance that Denver's record took a massive leap, winning a total of 46 games. But they would run into a huge issue. You see, the Western Conference was stacked. The 3rd-seeded Trailblazers had 49 wins, and shockingly, the 8th-seeded Timberwolves had 47, meaning, once again, the Nuggets were eliminated from the playoffs by a single loss. Whilst their failure to make the playoffs was heartbreaking, the Nuggets were developing something that very few teams in the league had. Throughout the 2018-2019 regular season, their rising superstar would average 20.1 points, 10.8 rebounds, and continue to showcase his rare skill, throwing 7.3 assists per game. Meaning Jokic would achieve something he never thought he could, because on the 31st of January 2019, Joker was announced as an NBA All-Star reserve. And when asked about this incredible achievement, the humble star shared,
I think it's a good thing for organization, of course, good thing for me. It's really honor to represent myself, my family, my hometown, like country. There, I think it's a really big deal to be there. Just to having your name there is, I think it's really good. Around all those guys, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, hopefully we're going to win.
And promised there would be
a lot of dunking, especially me.
The Denver Nuggets also possessed a rare trait that very, very few NBA organizations have: patience. While they would make trades that made sense, they were focused on keeping the core team alongside their coaching staff together, which allowed them to develop great chemistry on and off the court. Another attribute that only a select few NBA teams have. Their offensive system, which was focused around their 41st pick and utilizing his incredible basketball brain would allow Denver to finally achieve their playoff dreams, as they would finish second in the Western Conference. However, their first ever playoff opponent was one of the greatest organizations of all time, and on the 14th of April, Denver would begin their first round playoff series against the San Antonio Spurs. While Nikola would only score 10 points, he impacted the game through his genius, getting a mind-boggling 14 assists. However, Denver struggled to execute late in their playoff debut, resulting in a Spurs Game 1 victory. Despite this loss, Nikola had come all this way, from an unknown prospect raised in small-town Serbia to the NBA playoffs, and he wasn't going to let his team lose. But once again, Denver's lack of experience found them down 19 points with 4 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Facing the reality of going down 2-0, Nikola really had to step it up, and boy, did he, scoring 21 points alongside 8 crucial assists, leading Denver to a massive comeback, winning 114-105. The Joker, alongside his Denver teammates, never gave up, and we were seeing the start of something special. However, this back and forth continued throughout the series, resulting in a decisive Game 7 in Denver, and the question was raised, would a non-traditional big man be able to lead his team to a playoff series victory, or was his skill only useful during the regular season? Throughout this win or go home game, the Serbian star would get a triple-double, 21 points, 15 rebounds, alongside 10 assists, with every dime he threw being as crucial as the last, resulting in an incredible 4-point victory. Denver had done the impossible, going from a team just picking random Serbians with their 41st pick to beating...
I remember that Nikola Jokic, he got picked when there was a I think it was Taco Bell. It was a Taco Bell ad or something that was going on. He got picked during that. That's crazy. And now he's one of the biggest, one of the best bigs in the league now.
The biggest dynasty from the 2010s in their first ever playoff series. Also, what the heck is this headline? Shout out LA Times. Anyway, Spurs head coach Greg Popovich was questioned about Jokic's performance during the series, and he responded the only way he knows how.
Have you been in these sessions before? I've said this like 10 times, and I'm not writing your article for you. Ask one of your colleagues. He's magnificent. Magnificent. I'll just leave it at that.
This support from the most sarcastic, greatest coach of all time fueled Nikola for their next matchup, an opponent they were very familiar with, the Ballin' Trailblazers. And after having their playoff dreams crushed by them a few seasons ago, Jokic was ready for payback. During their first game, Nikola proved to the world that he was the right choice for Denver, dropping 37 points, and it was clear a new dynamic duo was forming in the NBA. A few years before this playoff series, Denver selected Canadian Jamal Murray with their 7th pick, and just like his Serbian teammate, Murray had been slowly developing thanks to the patience of the Nuggets front office. This connection propelled Denver to a 3-2 series lead after their dominant 26-point victory in Game 5. And whilst Jokic might not have the traditional basketball skills or athleticism you expect from other dominant bigs like Hakeem Olajuwon or Shaq, his genius far excelled anyone who had come before him. But things would take a tragic turn in the final 2 games of the series. Despite Joker scoring 29 points in both Game 6 and 7, Denver failed to slow Portland's backcourt duo of Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum down, with the pair scoring 112 points combined, resulting in Denver being eliminated from their championship dreams. After this loss, Nikola would fall back into old habits, coming into training camp for the 2019-2020 season completely out of shape. This is when Jokic realized he needed to start taking things a lot more seriously if he was going to achieve his dream of winning an NBA championship, with Joker sharing,
I'm gonna say like my 3rd or 4th year, I was kind of, okay, I need to do this, I need to change diet, I need to lose weight, I need to, or maybe I can shoot, maybe I can like use Just develop it through the time.
He would lean on another Serbian, Ognjen Stojakovic, nicknamed Ogi, who was the head of player development for the Denver Nuggets. The pair had met when the 20-year-old entered the NBA, as Ogi had been hired to help the Nuggets' international draft picks transition into the American lifestyle. Initially, Nikola didn't get along with Stojakovic at all, but over time, he grew to see him the same way he saw Deki, a father figure who pushed him in all aspects of his life, but ultimately someone he could go to for anything. This relationship helped Joker develop a new mentality.
I think that's probably my motivation, just like obsess with winning and that kind of lifestyle.
Thanks to this mindset shift, by the time the All-Star break had arrived, Nikola was in amazing shape, and after being named as an All-Star reserve once again, it was clear the work he had put in with Coach Ogi was paying off. The now 25-year-old would light up the Hawks in the regular season for 47 points, showcasing an extended shooting range alongside an insane ability to make incredibly tough shots at the end alongside an insane ability to make incredibly tough shots at the end of the shot clock. Something that would amaze his teammate Michael Porter Jr., who shared,
and we talk about after the game, he doesn't really, he's like, I didn't even aim, I just threw it up in the air.
He just threw it up there.
Just his touch and his just awareness is just kind of like, it's just there without him really having to try it. So in shot clock situation, he just throws it up in the general vicinity of the rim and it goes in some time.
Denver would finish the regular season as the 3rd seed and was set to face a very similar team, who also had a dominant big man paired with a dynamic scoring guard, the Utah Jazz, in the first round of the playoffs. Despite Donovan Mitchell going off for a huge 57 points, Denver and their chemistry was just too much for the Jazz, with the Nuggets winning an overtime thriller. At this stage, many thought this would be Denver's series, but something shocking was about to happen, because the Jazz would dominate the next 3 games, winning by an average margin of 19 points. Therefore, Jokic and Denver were down 3-1, just a single loss away from being eliminated once again. But you already know the Serbian All-Star was not going to let his team down.
Yeah, don't bet against the fat boy.
Dropping 31 points in Game 5, keeping Denver's dreams alive. However, Utah wanted to win this series just as bad. So, during Game 6, they focused their defense on Jokic, trying to stop him from dominating through scoring. Therefore, Nikola dominated the game with his passing, throwing 9 assists, leading the Nuggets to incredibly tie the series, just 1 win away from advancing to the 2nd round. Utah was shocked, and Denver would continue their insane momentum throughout Game 7, grabbing a 19-point lead late in the 2nd quarter. But the Jazz weren't going back to Utah without a fight. Led by their rising star, Utah would climb their way back, tying the game at 78 all with 47.5 seconds remaining. Head coach Mike Malone would call timeout to drop a game-winning sideline out of bounds play, putting the ball into his superstar's hands against the 2019 Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert.
Backs him down. Gobert stays on his feet. Tough shot! Made it! Jokic giving Denver a 2-point lead.
The Nuggets just had to get one more defensive stop to win the game, which is exactly what they did. But what happened next was one of the craziest sequences to end a Game 7 in the history of basketball.
Got it! Mitchell hanging at the other end. 2 seconds to go for the win.
While I will never forget sitting locked away inside, as all of us were, watching this moment unfold, none of us could have predicted what would come next. Because once again, Denver found themselves down 3-1 against the much more experienced championship favorite Los Angeles Clippers. Yet Jokic was never flustered, adopting a very simple mindset.
I'm just trying to win the game. Next game, like, and that's my main focus.
However, as the 2nd quarter came,
I'm trying to say they have Portland had multiple stars of like have that mindset already, and Denver haven't been up there like that because they had at this time they had Clippers. The Clippers had Kawhi, and that was one of the ones that been in the playoffs multiple times when he was with the Spurs.
to a close in Game 5, the Clippers looked like they would be the team advancing to the Western Conference Finals, holding a 16-point lead. But as usual, Denver would rally back, led by no one else other than their franchise centerpiece, clawing their way back to an incredible 6-point victory. Nikola's incredible impact continued throughout Game 6, scoring a huge 34 points while still throwing 7 assists, leading his team to a 13-point victory, crucially tying the series at 3 wins each. But the Clippers weren't done. Motivated to lift their Western Conference Finals curse and led by their robotic superstar, grabbed a 10-point lead midway through the second quarter. Denver had their backs against the wall. They had been through so much as a team since Jokic was drafted 6 years ago, and it's obvious Mike Malone gave an incredible halftime speech because they would come out fighting. Within 4 minutes of the third quarter beginning, LA's lead had been erased through Nikola's brilliance, who would record a 22 rebound, 16-point, 13-assist triple-double alongside Jamal Murray, who would drop 40. Denver had done something no other NBA team had ever done before, coming back from a 3-1 series deficit twice in the same playoff run. Nikola was ecstatic, sharing,
"This is a special crew. You know, we nobody wants us here. Nobody think that we can do something, and we prove ourselves and prove everybody that we can do something." You know?
Their Western Conference Finals matchup would be the ultimate chance to prove themselves, as Denver was set to face a team seemingly built to slow down Nikola and his Nuggets teammates, the Los Angeles Lakers. You see, LA had a unique roster because they had 3 legitimate bigs: Anthony Davis, JaVale McGee, and Dwight Howard. Davis was very similar to Jokic in that he was able to play both inside and outside the three-point line, meaning Lakers head coach Frank Vogel could play both Davis and JaVale or Dwight at the same time, making Jokic's life much more difficult. Because of LA's unique ability to stop Nikola, the Lakers would win Game 1 with ease. But Joker wasn't going to let his team down, so he dropped 30 points in Game 2, helping the Nuggets to a 1-point lead late in the fourth quarter. However, this is where something insane would happen, because despite Murray crucially blocking a game-winning attempt by Danny Green, it was still the Lakers' ball with 2.1 seconds remaining, and they would run a beautiful baseline out of bounds play.
Here's Davis, 4-3 in the win. Oh, it's good! Anthony Davis has won it for the Lakers!
Despite Denver winning Game 3, LeBron James, alongside his Lakers teammates, were just perfectly built to slow the Nuggets down, ending the series in just 5 games. While Jokic was upset to be heading back home empty-handed, it was a clear sign of what the NBA should be expecting over the next few seasons. And something incredibly positive would happen before the start of the 2020-2021 season, because the person who had the biggest impact on Nikola's basketball success, Mega Baskets coach Decky, had joined the NBA as an assistant coach for the Golden State Warriors. Joker was happy to have the opportunity to spend more time with someone he loved, and someone who was becoming more of a great friend rather than a coach, as Jokic grew into a man. Fueled by their failure just a few months ago, the now 25-year-old began the season with 4 triple-doubles in his first 6 games, would record a career-high 50 points against the Kings, as well as an insane 18-assist career-high game against the Rockets. It was thanks to the Serbian superstar's incredible performances, despite a Nuggets roster riddled with injuries, that Denver would hold the 3rd seed and result in the center winning an award he never thought he would, as during a team meeting late in the season, it was announced
Nikola Jokic is this year's most valuable player. Congratulations, Nikola.
I tell you guys that this is not it's individual honor, of course, but I couldn't do it without you guys, so it's my honor, it's my trophy, whatever, but you guys are a big part of it, so thank you everybody who is in the show. Thank you.
But why is it that he's so humble about winning arguably the NBA's most prestigious award? Again, it all goes back to his basketball heritage, where he was raised to believe in something other than himself.
People are telling me my stats, and I'm trying to say it's a team basketball, so.
And his teammate would share this about Nikola's mindset.
Nikola doesn't care about individual accolades at all.
He likes the
We're
team.
all after one goal, which is a championship, and it's just cool how selfless he is. That's one character trait of his that I can genuinely say is like is pretty amazing. It's how selfless he is and how those things don't drive him at all, the individual accolades.
As the playoffs began, Denver was set to face a familiar opponent, the Portland Trailblazers. But once again, Jokic would face a key issue because during a regular season game against Deki and the Golden State Warriors, the Serbian star's teammate would unfortunately suffer a season-ending knee injury. This meant Nikola was going to have to put the Nuggets on his back if they were going to beat the surging Portland Trailblazers. And in traditional Jokic fashion, he did just that. Of course he did. He's Jokic. Scoring 34 in Game 1, 38 in Game 2, 36 in Game 3, 16 in Game 4 they lost, 38 in Game 5 alongside 9 assists, and 36 in their series-winning Game 6. Joker completely dominated the Blazers by himself, and they moved on to face the Devin Booker-led Phoenix Suns. However, this is where things started to take a dark turn for the Nuggets franchise, who despite Nikola having a 32-point, 20-rebound, 10-assist triple-double in Game 3, would get swept by the Suns, crushing their championship hopes once again. These struggles continued throughout the 2021-2022 season. Although Jokic was once again named as an NBA All-Star, named to the All-NBA First Team, and was awarded the Most Valuable Player award, they would get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs by Golden State in an embarrassing 5 games. People were really starting to question if Nikola Jokic could be the centerpiece of a championship-winning team, if Jamal Murray was genuinely a star point guard, and if Denver was built for championship success. Despite these doubters, everyone within the Nuggets knew what was about to happen, because when asked if he believed they could win a title in the 2022-2023 season, the Serbian MVP had a very simple response.
I know. Yes, the answer is yes.
This belief was backed up with what occurred over the offseason, because they acquired Lakers guard Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, as well as signing a versatile wing, Bruce Bowen. Coupled with Jamal Murray being fully recovered, Denver was ready to compete for an NBA title. However, February 9th, 2023 proved to be an incredibly eventful day, because multiple Western Conference teams made shocking trades for superstar players, throwing serious doubt in Denver's ability to reach the NBA Finals due to their lack of superstar caliber players. But despite this disbelief in Denver's roster, the trades they made turned out to be way more impactful than any other teams, because the Nuggets achieved something they hadn't done with this group, grabbing the #1 seed in the stacked Western Conference. However, their first opponent in the playoffs was the rising Minnesota Timberwolves, led by a player who was drawing comparisons to the GOAT. Although the Timberwolves were clearly a team on the rise, Denver was far too determined to achieve their dreams, dominating them in the first 3 games, just 1 win away from moving on. However, despite their 2-time MVP dropping 43 points in Game 4, the Wolves had clearly figured something out, avoiding the sweep with a 6-point victory. And this success continued throughout the must-win Game 5, earning them a 15-point lead early in the game. But by this point, I think you know what happens next. Thanks to their extensive playoff experience and ability to come back from huge early deficits, Denver would retake the lead. Yet the Wolves were hungry, and with 14 seconds remaining, down 4, they pushed the ball hard up the court, resulting in...
Here comes Edwards, quickly kicks near side, Prince, no! Offensive rebound, Edwards back up, and he lays it.
Denver would call timeout, advance the ball, and then the Wolves would smartly foul,
inbound to Jokic, quick whistle,
putting Jokic on the free throw line where he could put his team up 4, essentially ending the series then and there. However, this happened. Thankfully, he would make the next free throw, and once again, a timeout was called for the Timberwolves to draw up a game-tying out-of-bounds play.
Timeouts left for Minnesota. Here we go. Conley looking for Edwards. Finally gets it to him. Edwards launches.
Hammy mid.
No! And Denver survives.
But What would come next would be their toughest test yet, because just a few months before their second round series with the Phoenix Suns began, they had made one of the craziest moves in NBA history. This trade, alongside Phoenix having two other All-Stars in Chris Paul and Devin Booker, resulted in many feeling like Denver would be the team eliminated. Yet, the Nuggets 2023 MVP candidate wasn't going to let his team down, dropping 24 points in Game 1 and a huge 39 in Game 2, leading Denver to a 2-0 series lead heading to Arizona. But what would happen next would ultimately change Jokic's career forever, because shortly after their Game 2 victory, the NBA announced its award winners, and Jokic, who was considered by most to be the only true MVP candidate, lost out to Philadelphia 76ers star Joel Embiid. While many players all around the world would be upset, Jokic was focused on the only goal he truly cared about. But this negative trend continued into Game 3, with the Suns grabbing a 7-point win at home, saving their own championship hopes. However, Jokic was hungry, not to prove that he should have won MVP, but to win a title, leading him to drop a new career high, 53 points in Game 4. And this wasn't the most shocking part. He also had a mind-boggling 11 assists. But even more shocking is that the Nuggets lost this game, meaning Phoenix had tied the series 2 games all. Many began to wonder, would Nikola's apparent lack of help cost Denver a championship? Should the Nuggets have made a trade for an all-star teammate rather than role players? Despite these questions, Joker, unsurprisingly, would put the Nuggets on his back, proving that he didn't need all-star teammates. All the Serbian superstar needed was a great team filled with players who understood their roles and shared his simple philosophy.
People are telling me my stats and I'm trying to say it's a team basketball, so...
Throughout the next 2 games, Denver's well-assembled roster demolished Phoenix, led by back-to-back triple-doubles from Jokic, defeating the Suns by 16 points in Game 5 and eliminating Phoenix with a mind-boggling 25-point victory in Game 6, proving winning basketball isn't about how many All-Stars you have. Speaking of stars, Denver was set to face a very familiar opponent in a very familiar setting, the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, a team that embarrassed them in 2020. However, the Nuggets had grown from the last time they faced LeBron and his LA teammates, incredibly sweeping their star-studded roster, earning them a ticket to the NBA Finals, a feat the franchise had never achieved before. But they were set to face a rising force in the NBA, a team that was also achieving something incredible, the Miami Heat, who had battled their way to the NBA Finals despite being the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. The stage was set. Nikola Jokic would finally get his opportunity to achieve his goal of becoming an NBA champion, something he had been preparing for all playoffs.
The most important thing is to, like I said, prepare yourself for that moment. It's gonna, you think in your head, okay, this play, a crowd, we are playing home, away, we were losing or we were winning, so you need to, like, I put scenarios in my head, like this play, what can happen here, so I'm kind of already live that in my head, you know, so when it happened on the floor, of course, sometimes it's different, but kind of that makes you prepare for whatever happens.
This insane mental preparation, what many consider to be Nikola's true skill, is what helped lead Denver to win Game 1 of the Finals. But Miami, led by arguably the best head coach in the NBA, Eric Spoelstra, wasn't going to go down without an intense battle. Throughout Game 2, Miami would play much more aggressive defense, resulting in 13 Denver turnovers and a 3-point victory, tying the series at 1 win each. But this is where Jokic would really shine, because in the words of 4-time champion Draymond Green,
I think when I'm guarding him, I'm also playing chess. It's not just all bang, 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 beat him to the spot. Like it's a lot of different games within the game that you have to try to play against a guy like that that's that smart.
Nikola's genius was on full display throughout the must-win game 3, as Denver would make the necessary adjustments to handle the rapidly improving Miami Heat defense, resulting in Jokic getting a 32-point, 21-rebound, 10-assist triple-double in their victory. And Joker would share this about the adjustments they made.
You remember, so they blitzed us a couple times, they steal the ball, then we reacted good. It's just kind of brain game, like a chess game, you know. They move one move, we have another move, so it's I think that this is the time where the players show what they got.
Jokic would continue to show just how dominant he was. He didn't need to be more athletic or have an insane one-on-one game to decimate a defense. All he needed was his incredible basketball IQ. Throughout the next 2 games, Joker would surgically dissect Miami's defense.
We had the answer for that.
Yeah.
Scoring 23 points during Game 4 and 28 in Game 5. Therefore, Nikola, alongside the Denver Nuggets organization, would win their first ever NBA championship. This is where Joker would really begin to show his personality, because before celebrating, he shook every single Miami Heat player's hand, as well as sharing this in the post-game press conference.
Amazing player.
When is play?
Thursday.
No.
Why is he no for? What you talking about them horses, ain't he? I ain't gonna lie, Jokic, I think he cares about more than his horses than he said, no, I need to go home. He worried about them horses, I ain't gonna lie.
But only a few days later, he would say this.
You know that I told that I don't want to stay on parade, but I want to stay on parade. This is the best.
However, something tragic would happen during the 2023-2024 season. On January 17th, 2024, Dejan Milojevic, who was still coaching with the Golden State Warriors as an assistant, suddenly passed away. Jokic had lost one of his closest friends.
You know, Decky was the guy who was gave me the freedom. You know, he showed me the way how you're supposed to do things. Act, train, work out. I didn't know
about this.
I didn't see none of it. Having positive energy, having positive attitude. But yes, basketball-wise, he gave me the freedom and to do whatever I want to do.
I didn't see it.
And he trusted me, and I can just say thank you.
Where he passed away.
Despite this tragedy in Nikola's personal life, there was still a job to be done, with many questioning if Denver would be able to repeat as NBA champions. You see, during the offseason, the Nuggets lost 2 players that were crucial to their 2023 success, Jeff Green and Bruce Brown. But it didn't seem like any of this even mattered, as Jokic would record an insane 25 triple-doubles throughout the regular season, leading his team to hold the second best record in the NBA heading into the playoffs. This momentum would continue as the 3-time MVP candidate alongside his co-star Jamal Murray would steamroll their first round playoff opponent, the Los Angeles Lakers, in just 5 games. Denver's dominance had them as the favorite to win their second round playoff matchup despite facing one of the hottest teams in the NBA, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and their rising superstar, Anthony Edwards. But this was far from the truth, because despite Joker dropping 32 points in Game 1 and recording a near triple-double in Game 2, the Nuggets found themselves down 2-0. Perhaps all the doubters were right. Losing Bruce Brown and a veteran presence in Jeff Green was going to be detrimental to their success, and Nikola wasn't the best player in the whole NBA. Yet, by this point, you know Jokic wasn't going to let his team down, because just before their must-win Game 3 in Minnesota, Joker would achieve something that only 8 other players in the history of the NBA had done. On the 9th of May 2024, Nikola Jokic was announced for the 3rd time as the most valuable player in the NBA. Yet, Joker was focused on something else. With their backs against the wall, knowing full well that if they lost Game 3 on the road, they would have an almost impossible comeback journey, Jokic proved why he deserves to be in elite company, carrying Denver to a huge 27-point victory, saving their back-to-back championship dreams. The three-time MVP's dominance continued throughout Game 4, dropping an insane 35 points, while still throwing 7 crucial assists, and then 40 points alongside 13 assists in Game 5. These incredible performances led Denver to hold a commanding 3 games to 2 lead over the Wolves, and it was clear the Nuggets championship experience was too much for the Wolves. Or was it? Because Minnesota, in the same way Denver responded to being down 2-0, came out with one of the most dominant playoff performances in recent history, defeating Denver by a mind-boggling 45 points, tying the series at 3 games each. Once again, Jokic had his back against the wall, but they had come back from worse situations before, and Joker felt confident that they would be the team moving on to the Western Conference Finals. Joker would drop 34 points, and his fellow international teammate Jamal Murray would drop 35 in the must-win Game 7. Yet, Nikola would face a similar issue to the 2020 Western Conference Finals, because the Wolves, just like the Lakers, had multiple versatile defenders that they could throw at the Nuggets. It was this issue that caused the Nuggets, outside of their 2 stars, to shoot a terrible 28% from the field, allowing Minnesota, for the first time since 2004, to move on to the Western Conference Finals. Denver's back-to-back championship dreams had been crushed. Nikola was devastated because despite what many believe, Joker truly only cares about one thing: winning. While many see a nonchalant Serbian who enjoys a great work-life balance, Jokic truly represents what it means to be a winner. It's very rare that you see him make the wrong decision, and while many fans overlook Nikola due to his lack of athletic ability and skill, he is truly one of the best players we have in today's NBA. Despite their failure in 2024, I believe Denver isn't going anywhere anytime soon, because in my eyes, they are the modern San Antonio Spurs. They might not win a title every year, but they will always be in championship contention so long as they have Jokic on their roster. Speaking of the Spurs, did you know that their star shooting guard, Manu Ginobili, who won 4 NBA titles and an Olympic gold medal, only used his left hand? To find out how that's even possible and more about his insane career, check out this video now.
All right, JoshMafia, that is the end of how an NBA star with 0 athleticism outplayed everybody. I'm not gonna lie, Jokic is an amazing fucking center, bro. In my opinion, he's one of the best centers in the league at the moment, and probably gonna be talked about whenever he does retire. I don't know when he's gonna retire, but Jokic, whenever he won the MVPs, he didn't really worry about doing this and doing that. He was worried about winning the final. But if you made it to the end of the video, JoshMafia, make sure you're liking the video, subscribing, and all things of that, and let me know your thoughts on this video down below. And if you want me to watch anything else, put that down below too. But hey, Jokic is an amazing fucking center, and I don't think nobody can really compare similar to him, because his play style is real different. I ain't gonna lie, but hey, be fucking video, you know what I'm saying? And make sure everybody locked in my channel, you know what I'm saying? Make sure your whole family is locked in my channel. But I will see y'all, yes, you, on the next video. We building a fucking community. Yeah, I love y'all, JoshMafia.
Falling, dreaming, talking.